Hey boo, how's it haunting? I'm Kat Pitting and this is Cat's Got Your Terrors, a show where I tell you and a guest in my manner of death something terrifying, so I'm not the only one with nightmares. Tonight, my guest in the manor is Jaymi Lynn. Thanks for joining me, Jaymi. I'm so excited to have you here.
I was excited, but I didn't know it was called the manner of death, so now I'm very terrified. We'll see how this goes.
It's my manner of death, though.
Okay, perfect.
So if you think of it that way, it's Cat's manner of death.
Okay.
So like, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
I know you're nervous. I know you're scared, as you should be. But like, don't worry. Nothing's gonna jump out at you while you're here.
Allegedly.
But I can't promise for later. Jaymi is a social worker, foster and adoptive parent, and she also runs a popular Instagram account called Family and Coffee that helps educate people about what real life is like in a foster/adoptive family and how you can become a foster parent as well. Something Jaymi is extra passionate about since she herself is a former foster youth. So you really love helping kids, huh, Jaymi?
I do, yes.
I'm really about to ruin that for you.
Okay, perfect.
Do you know anything about black-eyed children or black-eyed kids?
Okay, well, I don't. All I know is that I saw the movie Coraline, and it gave me really, really bad nightmares. So I can't handle Coraline. So this is very terrifying.
Okay, well, instead of button eyes, these are children with completely blacked out eyes. The phenomena of black-eyed children or black-eyed kids, you might hear me refer to them as BEKs, gained popularity on the internet in the late 2010s, but the sightings reported started around the late 80s, early 90s. Interestingly, most sightings happen in England, so just so you know, England.
So we're safe.
Yeah, and I don't know why England. It's just, well, there is a theory, and I'll get into that. BEKs, of course, are mostly seen at night and come in groups of 2 or more, ages ranging anywhere between 5 to late teens. Accounts vary on clothing. Some see them wearing normal kid-like clothes. Others say they wear matching outfits, kind of like culty style.
I know all about that.
At first sight, the kids appear normal, maybe a little pale, and super fair-skinned, and then all of a sudden it's revealed that their eyes are completely blacked out. So like in reports, it's at first they see them and it just looks like a normal child, and then all of a sudden it's revealed that
So like
their
morphs
eyes,
and transforms.
Yeah. I don't know if it morphs or transforms, or like there's just something that at first encounter you don't notice their eyes, and then all of a sudden it's revealed. Most accounts report them knocking on doors, but they've also been seen approaching car windows. But most disturbing to me, they've been known to appear in the windows of your home.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
I know. Like just walking up to your window and looking outside. First of all, walking up to your window and looking outside and seeing a kid, period, creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy.
But like then a child with completely blacked out eyes, no thank you.
When I wake up in the middle of the night and see my own kids in the hallway, it's terrifying.
Okay, I think about that a lot.
It's terrifying.
Because like if I woke up in the middle of the night and there was just a small child standing next to my bed, like
a week or 2 ago, my 7-year-old was sleepwalking, and he walked downstairs into my bed, had a whole conversation with me, used the bathroom, went back upstairs, and the next day remembered none of it at all. No. So if he did that with black eyes, I don't want to talk about it.
So when black-eyed children appear, they ask to be invited in, usually under the guise of needing help. Right? At least they ask.
Very polite.
Yeah.
Ask for consent. It's great.
They usually do so under the guise of needing help. And some people say they feel really strangely compelled to let them in. Like, I don't know if it's maybe like a nurture instinct that kicks in when you see a child that like you want to help them.
It's like why I want to help kids.
Yeah.
I feel compelled. It's my trauma.
See, I don't have that. Like if small children showed up to my door, like to my house, I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And then just.
You're like, you can suffer like I did.
Yeah, I was like, no one helped me. Thank you. Under no circumstances, though, should you ever let them in. So see, I'm right. People who have let black-eyed children into their home report experiencing nosebleeds, blinding headaches, nightmares, and unexplained agoraphobia as a result, which, in case you don't know, agoraphobia is fear of leaving the house.
Oh.
So like all of a sudden, you don't want to leave your home.
So basically like the same symptoms as the pandemic.
Pretty much.
Okay, perfect.
Except nosebleeds are added.
Debatable.
And blinding headaches.
Debatable.
Yeah, debatable. Black-eyed kids are very insistent and persuasive about being let in, usually using ruses or guilt tactics. When refused, they become hostile, flying into a rage, screaming, banging on doors, windows, etc. So they have to be invited in. And when they're not invited in, they become really angry about it. And
So, okay, interesting.
no one knows what they are, or more terrifying, where they came from. So that's what black-eyed children are. So now that you know, are you ready to hear about some encounters?
I don't think I have a choice, do I?
You don't, because
If I say no, it's the throwing things, the screaming.
I'm gonna tell you about some black-eyed children encounters that kind of fit this. Last night was like any other night. I was switching between listening to music and watching YouTube videos with one headphone in so I can hear my infant daughter if she cries. That way my wife can get a full night's sleep. She works at a hospital. I decided to go lay down in the spare bed in the baby's room. Just as I dozed off, I heard thumping coming from the front porch. Startled at first, I opened my eyes wide and scanned the room. Realizing it was most likely my cat scratching himself on the front porch, I dozed back off. Then again, the thumping. Damn cat. I get out of bed and to run him off the porch, only to see he wasn't there. Now that I was up again, I wasn't the least bit tired. I figured I'll get some tea and check Facebook while I'm up. Maybe finish the web series I was watching on YouTube. A few minutes into the video, I felt a sudden urge to look up at the kitchen window. There they were, the tops of two short-statured people's heads cresting the stairs just above the window frame. The people were just short enough not to see in the window, but I could see out. I heard no footsteps on my porch as my stomach turned, but the knock was a steady, hollow thump. The very same thump I had just blamed on my cat. Deciding it was best not to answer, I shut my laptop and crept by the door back to the baby's room. It wasn't until I got into my daughter's room that the creepiness set in. The thump had moved from the kitchen to the bedroom windows. Both windows, a room apart, thumping in perfect time. Pissed off, I went out to the kitchen and unlocked and opened the door, ready to run around the side of the house and kick some little idiot's ass. It happened then. Standing there, looking up at me, were two 10 or 11-year-old boys. The feeling of dread and the smell of mold almost made me vomit. The smaller of the two then spoke. "May we use your telegraph?" "Huh?" I just stared blankly back at these boys, horrified of what I then realized. Their eyes were pitch black. He asked again to use my telegraph. There wasn't a sound to be heard. No crickets chirping, no dogs barking, no cars driving by, nothing. I tried to play it cool and ignore the fact that he didn't say telephone or phone or cell, anything that would have made any sense of the situation, and calmly replied, "I don't have any service at my house, sorry."
Instead of, "I don't have a telegraph"?
Right. I think just like, again, registering like, what did you ask me? The expressions on their faces turned to rage as I finished my sentence. Swiftly, I shut the door and locked it as quickly as I could, then stumbled back to protect my daughter. I picked her up from the crib and held her close. The fact that she didn't wake up freaked me out the most, but I managed to gather my senses enough to make sure she was still breathing and warm. Everything seemed okay with her. The thumping on the windows was back. I dropped to the floor as close to the wall as I could and had my little girl in my arms. I felt helpless and afraid. I lied there for what felt like hours until I heard it, my wife's alarm clock. The thumping stopped the instant the alarm went off, and I crept into the master bedroom with the baby, wondering why they stopped when the alarm went off. And that's the end.
Interesting.
I know. Also, just a note on the kids asking about the telegraph. So that's a common thing that's reported with BEKs or black-eyed children is that they ask about things that aren't normal. Like I was listening to one story where one of the kids was holding an apple and asked if he could be let in because he needed ketchup for his apple.
That's gross.
Right. And I was like, even if that is like a weird kid craving, that's a really weird kid craving. Yeah. And also like even weirder that like, hey, can you let me into your house so I can use ketchup?
Very, very odd.
Yeah, that's awkward. So this is the second story that I have about an encounter. And this one is creepy, and you'll see why. I mean, they're all creepy, but this one's actually creepy. I'm in my early 20s. I just moved into this apartment, and I tend to live a very private life. So I'm walking up my first flight of steps to get to my apartment, and I hear these kids laughing. And then I hear whispering. It was kind of late, so I thought this was weird, but I ignored it and walked into my apartment. I live on the 3rd floor. I was getting ready to open my balcony door. It was really muggy in my apartment. I walk over to the door and pull my blinds, and there's 2 kids staring back at me. I screamed and backed away, smashing my leg into the table. They were both in blue jeans, and the oldest, he was taller, had on a green shirt with white stripes, and the younger had on a button-up blue shirt. The oldest one touched the sliding door. "Hey, miss, can you let us in?" The younger one just kept looking around. I still just stared at them. I finally was able to say, "How'd you get on my balcony?" I walked to the door and noticed how excited the older one got when I moved closer to the entrance. "Can you let us in?" I wasn't thinking. I unlocked the door, and when I looked up, their eyes. You guys, their eyes were black. The entire eye. I quickly locked the door and told them I had to call the police because my door was jammed and I couldn't unlock the door. Which, like, oh, I'm so sorry, my door's jammed, I gotta call the cops. Like, what? So I called the police. The oldest boy pleaded with me the entire time to let them in. The police arrived about an hour ago. They came in and walked to the balcony. When they opened my balcony door, there was nothing there.
How long did she wait for the police?
It says the police arrived about an hour ago. I don't know if like this was
so
all
police
in
show up
rapid
at
time.
your door, and then an hour later you go and write on Reddit?
Yeah. Why not?
Interesting.
If there's anything we know, it's that people are going to go to the internet first.
It's true.
Because how many people are recording horrific things as they're happening and then like posting them?
It's true.
As they're
I mean, I guess that's kind of how I post my whole life. Like all of the trauma and the horrific things that are happening day by day. In real time.
So listen, some of us post to our Instagram story. Some of us post to Reddit, apparently.
Yeah.
But anyway, the police arrived about an hour ago. They came in and walked to the balcony. When they opened my balcony door, nothing was there. But then they looked down and they saw two children and they were running. Okay, so they must have gotten there pretty quickly, or the kids like waited until the cops got there. But anyway, they were running in the parking lot away from the building. The police took a report and said that they had to have had help getting up there, and that they would question the neighbors because she was on the third floor. So like, in a third floor balcony, yeah, how would?
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah, they just like climbed up there, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to stay here, but then again, I don't feel safe going outside right now. I'm scared. I put salt by my door and windows. I've never seen eyes that were that black, not even in movies. I'm terrified. Do you guys think they'll come back?
Yes.
Probably. Also, well, I don't know. She put salt on her door and window. Do you know why we do that?
The only time I've seen that is in Hocus Pocus.
I was just going to bring that.
Please educate me.
It's like, remember how in Hocus Pocus, she puts the circle of salt.
Yes.
Salt is a protector. So for whatever reason, and I'm sure it has something to do, and I think it has to do with the Bible about like salt of the earth or something along those lines. But like salt is a protector. So if you're dealing with something spooky, salt.
Then what about Lot's wife? She like turned into salt. But
Maybe
that was
that's
like
why.
a punishment.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Okay, so it's probably not biblical.
I just always guess it has like a biblical origin.
We just guess everything does.
Because as good Sunday school kids, the answer is always Jesus.
It always is. There's no other answer.
But anyway, so salt to protect it. So that's why she like felt the need to salt her door and windows, and also why in Hocus Pocus she has like the salt ring.
Circle.
Okay, so anyway, as always, I've saved the best story for last. And this one has some solid credibility to it.
What do you mean by solid credibility?
Because it was written by a reporter whose whole reputation is based off of him being a current events reporter. And he's actually like a popular current events reporter. And he posted to a blog in 2013 this story. And it's something that he was like, I'm going to risk it. I just need to tell somebody about this.
So basically putting his credibility on
the line. So anyway, his name is Brian Bethel, and he is currently, I did look it up, the senior staff writer at Abilene Reporter News. He risked his career as a reputable current events reporter, and in 2013 posted to a blog about his own experience with black-eyed children. This is his account. One evening in 1995, I was at my local branch of Camelot, an internet provider, to pay my bill. I intended to leave a check in their night slot. While I was sitting in my car writing the check, there was a firm knock on the window. 2 children stood there, boys between 9 and 12 years old. I opened the window a little, and the nearest child asked if they could get a ride back to their moms. They'd come to see a movie, but had left their money at home. I felt a wave of inexplicable fear wash over me, my visceral reaction confusing me in the moment. Why would a grown man feel fear at the sight of 2 little kids? It was as though my rational mind was quietly observing my body enter a stress reaction. I felt like I was being hunted, as if I were a prey animal. I noticed the movie had already started, so there wouldn't be much of it left to watch if I drove them anywhere and back. The child kept reassuring. It wouldn't take long. They were just kids who wanted to watch a movie. They didn't have a gun.
You didn't have a gun.
I know. At this last declaration, I was completely unnerved. I wonder why. But also, this is Texas. So, like...
The odds of the child having
exactly,
a gun may
right.
be pretty
so
high.
I feel like the kid just felt the need to mention it. He's like, by the way, I'm not one of those
What did
kids
they say,
that carries a gun.
1995?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I looked away from the boy and down towards the door lock. When I looked back up, the atmosphere had changed, and I was staring into a pair of coal black eyes. I apologized to the kids, telling them I couldn't give them a ride. I wound up the window and put the car into reverse. As I did, I noticed a look of confusion on the second boy's face, the one who hadn't uttered a word. The first boy hammered on the window, yelling, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." I burned rubber out of the parking lot while doing so. I looked in the rearview mirror and found there was no one there. That's the end. So, black-eyed children. So now that you have all of those accounts and the information, do you have any theories on what you think they are?
Well, black-eyed children in the 80s and 90s, right? Early 2000s.
So the reports go back,
2014.
yeah, the reports go back as early as the late 80s, but the postings about them started happening in the 2010s. So I don't know if it started with like somebody sharing their account. They say that this account from Brian Bethel, that he kind of started it, that him sharing this story is what got everybody else to start sharing their stories. So it's hard to say where exactly it started, or how it started. But yeah, do you want to hear some theories about what they are?
Yeah.
And again, you don't have a choice. Again, you're gonna have to hear some theories about what black-eyed children are. So of course, one of the most popular theories is that they're tied to the Men in Black. So do you know about what the actual Men in Black?
No, tell me.
Okay. So
I take it it's not the movies.
Okay, yes and no. There are some elements to the Men in Black that are comparable to the movies in the way of that they do always show up in a black suit. However, they're usually wearing also a black hat. One of the things that's commonly reported is that they're usually pale and that they look like the
young
same.
Men in Black?
They're like older, like they look like men. Like they're always men in like trench coat.
But like the kids, so are they supposed to be like the younger versions? Like
well, no,
before they
they're usually
up?
accompanied by them. So like some reports have said that like they see the Men in Black dropping them off like in a neighborhood.
Or helping them on the 3rd-story balcony.
Or helping them onto the 3rd-story balcony, or picking them up. Like sometimes they see like the kids get into a car that has Men in Black with them. But I think one day I'm going to do an episode about the Men in Black because there's a lot that goes on about like basically it's believed that they're either a government or shadow government or something along those lines, corporation that deals with the paranormal and helps keep everything like kosher, basically.
Like the Space Force.
Exactly. So that's why they're also tied to aliens, is because like it's believed that they like help keep like alien acknowledgement at a low.
Alien acknowledgement.
Alien acknowledgement.
I wonder if you looked up, what is the rate of alien acknowledgements? Like, what is the percentage?
Well, I mean, like we had that whole thing recently where like they were basically like, yeah, there's aliens. Everyone's like, okay.
Yeah, like tell us something we didn't know.
Everyone's like, that's fine. It's $6 for eggs. I have other things to worry about.
$6. Isn't gas? It's like $6-7.
Yeah.
Nope.
Tell the aliens I'm ready.
I know.
Anyway. Some BEK accounts include them being accompanied by the Men in Black, which means they could be aliens, either being tracked by the MIB or being used by the MIB. But if so, for what? Because it kind of sounds like if they cause like headaches and nosebleeds and that kind of thing, they could be used as some sort of like bioweapon.
Yeah.
Others say black-eyed kids are ghosts, since a popular account of a BEK encounter in England. So this is probably why like England's the most popular, is because there's a story about seeing the same black-eyed girl in an area called Cannock Chase. There was a string of child murders from 1965 to 1967.
Like murders of children or child being a murderer?
Murders of children.
Okay. Well, I mean, terrifying.
No, terrifying all around. But also something about a killer child is also scary.
Very. Black eyes.
Exactly. And people think she is most likely the ghost of one of the victims. People report seeing a little girl who asks for help, but then runs away, and when faced, has completely blacked out or hollow-looking eyes. Also, unfortunately, for anyone who has come in contact with black-eyed children or for anyone who may receive a visit, another theory is that BEKs begins with D and ends with men's demons.
Nope.
Since they present as children and need to be invited in.
Nope. It's my religious trauma flaring up. You say demons, I'm gonna run the other way.
Yep. Sorry. Yep, that's one of the theories. Because they present as children, because they have to be invited in, and they inflict intense feelings of a foreboding sense of doom. Also, like, what's more demonic than having completely blacked out eyes?
I mean,
let's be real.
Truly.
Yeah. So, and isn't that terrifying? Like, the idea of actual, like, demon kids running around?
Very terrifying. Well, because the thing is, you think they're kids. So, I mean, as someone who helps children, I'm like, I don't know.
Right, that's the thing. Like, they present as children, and you feel compelled to help them, and then all of a sudden, they're demons.
No.
That's really the thing. Before we go, I do want to talk about something. You have a knack for predicting things?
That's what I've heard. So I rejected it for a long time because growing up, my mom would tell me stories about when I was a kid and I like could predict something was going to happen or sense something was happening. But, you know, I was like, no, that's not true. And then back to religious trauma, that's demonic. So we're not going to talk about that. But I do it all the time. I know. And my mom has it too. My mom has like really big stories of her predicting things that happen. So
can you give some examples? Do you have any?
Yeah. One of the bigger ones is my mom had a dream that her friend's house burned down. And it was like very, very vivid, like where she was at, what happened. And the next day, her friend's house burned down. And she's like, I just had a dream about that. A lighter note, a more happier one, is I had a dream about my son before he was born. Before I even knew I was pregnant, I had a dream about this little blonde-haired kid. And I'm not naturally blonde, so it's like, there's no way that I'm having this like blonde-haired child. And the week after I had the dream, I found out I was pregnant. And I had already saw him and I knew him. But even little things like, I don't know, I'll be watching a show and I can predict the next thing the person's going to say or random things like that. So it happens all the time. When I was a little kid, my mom told me the story that my mom repeats stories a lot, like any mom does. But she tells me the story about how she was eating jelly beans, and I was, like, out in the yard playing. We never had candy. Like, there's no way I would have jelly beans, or she would. And she said, I ran inside and said, where's my jelly beans? Like, why didn't you save me any? And I just knew, and I was, like, 3 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
As one of my favorite movies says, there's a little witch in all of us. Practical Magic. It's a good one.
I've never seen it.
But okay, see, we gotta get you on this.
Truly.
But yeah, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. And that's so crazy. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Remind us where we can find you on social media really fast.
So Instagram mostly. My username is Family and Coffee. And TikTok's the same, Family and Coffee as well.
Also, definitely check out Jaymi's TikTok. It's so funny. it's so good. Well, my dear spoiled bats and Jaymi, I have bad news. There is one last theory about black-eyed kids.
Oh, no.
It's that they're more likely to appear to people who know about their existence.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Until we meet again, happy terrors.
Next time on Cats Capture Terror.
Green Inferno.
Yes!
Oh my gosh!
Don't say I didn't warn you.
How did he get there? What triggered that feeling?
But several people noticed the suitcases dripping blood. It was just an extreme case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.